This video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Click the link below to start browsing a better, safer internet, or stick around to the end of the video to learn more. Gamers, have y'all beat Resident Evil 4 Remake yet? If not, why not? You've had the whole weekend. Don't tell me you had plans. Nobody who watches this channel has any plans on the weekend, okay? So don't feed me that line. Personally, I have finished it. My script is written and my review is going up later this week. I won't spoil anything, but I will say that to this point, I'd always considered myself a bit of an RE2 man, but I think that opinion may have shifted. That's all I'll say for now. Outside of that, I've been preparing for E3, if you can believe it, or at least I was. Then the news broke that Ubisoft pulled out, and they were basically the only AAA publisher who had confirmed they were attending. Now Austin and I are going to be in LA together in June, and we're not even sure there's going to be a show to cover. Oh well, at least we'll be able to go to that new Mario World at Universal Studios. We don't have to wait until June for big game announcements to drop though. Hell, this week we got updates on Silent Hill 2, Spider-Man 2, and the announcement of Counter-Strike 2, which you just know will be the last one since Valve are constitutionally incapable of making any game with a 3 in the title. A lot to cover this week, so let's get to it. Here comes the news. Alright, let's start with the Redfall news. Bethesda hosted a hands-on session for Arcane's upcoming Redfall, and impressions have been very mixed actually. IGN were bullish in their coverage, saying, quote, Arcane Austin may be the fresh blood open world shooters need, end quote. They really liked the sandbox and felt like both the environment and the character kits gave you the means of expressing yourself in the way previous Arcane games have allowed for. My friend Mr. Matty Plays did a preview for it. He's a big Arcane enjoyer, and he says he walked away from the preview more excited about the game than when he walked in, which is always a great sign. PC Games N overall enjoyed their time with it, but they did comment that playing solo wasn't as satisfying as they'd hoped for, indicating that this one may be best played in a group or not at all. But like I said, the impressions were far from all positive. PC Gamer did not hold back when they ran the headline, quote, Vampire FPS Redfall feels like a sad stumble from iconic studio Arcane, end quote. Ouch, tell us what you really think. They lament a dull, lifeless open world that doesn't meet the art design bar set by previous Arcane titles. They describe spaces unworthy of exploring, as there isn't much to find off the beaten track. They also indicate that Arcane have done little to improve the poor enemy AI that was the bane of Deathloop, saying that foes here in Redfall just don't put up much of a fight and will generally just run straight at you, like Deathloop's enemies did. They sum it all up by saying, quote, developed during the pandemic and other change and upheaval at the studio, and surely shaped by Arcane's struggle to find mainstream commercial success with its excellent immersive sims, Redfall seems to bear the scars of a troubled development, end quote. Giant Bomb's crew also went hands-on with the title, and they echoed a lot of that sentiment, particularly with relation to the lack of rewarding exploration and terrible enemy AI. One thing raised by the Giant Bomb crew was that the game is currently very unoptimized and ran very poorly on PC. I actually heard that from a number of other previewers as well. That is concerning since the title is only around 5 weeks away, which doesn't leave a huge amount of time for optimization. Personally, I'm still very much on the fence with this one, and these previews have done little to push me into the excited camp. Good thing that this will be available day one on Game Pass. Given the co-op focus and the question marks around exploration, AI, and PC performance, Game Pass sounds like it's going to be the least risky means of picking this one up. Some other stuff to shake out of that preview round was that Arcane are currently in the process of walking back the always online requirement for the game. Earlier it was announced that even if you're playing solo, you need to be online to play Redfall, meaning that at some point in the future, the game would eventually stop working, since that's how it goes with online titles. Arcane have confirmed that they're in the process of implementing some fixes around this, but they weren't specific, and they also did not provide a date for when that might be available. Finally, game director Harvey Smith probably didn't make the head honchos at Microsoft too happy when he confirmed that there was a PS5 version of the game in development at one point, but that it was canned after Microsoft acquired Bethesda. Quote, we were acquired by Microsoft and it was a change with a capital C. They came in and said, no PS5, we're focusing on Xbox, PC, and the Game Pass, end quote. Obviously, this is reasonable in the sense that Microsoft bought the studio, so it gets to decide where the game is published. However, it does fly in the face of Microsoft's repeated rhetoric to regulatory agencies. You know, the line where they're like, oh, we want gamers to be able to choose where they play, player choice, blah, blah, blah. It's a good line, but it's obviously very selectively employed, and exclusives for major titles like Redfall, Starfield, and Elder Scrolls 6 remind us of that. That's certainly a nice lead into what's going on with Microsoft's attempts to snatch up Activision Blizzard King for nearly $70 billion. You'll no doubt recall that a number of territories have approved the transaction, but the US and UK are proving to be curveballs and sticky wickets respectively. But Hope you like that one. The US FTC is still deliberating on the matter, but the UK CMA issued a preliminary report, and it's very good news for Microsoft indeed. The CMA updated their stance on Call of Duty exclusivity, since before they calculated that it would be profitable for Microsoft to make the game exclusive, but their updated financial modeling indicates that this isn't the case. That crucial roadblock out the way, the CMA says it's still concerned about the potential impact on the cloud gaming sector where Microsoft have a commanding lead, but given the current size of that sector, that doesn't seem like as much of a showstopper as the Call of Duty thing was. We're still a long ways from having all of this sorted, but this is certainly one very big step forward for Microsoft, and you gotta bet that Uncle Phil is feeling pretty chuffed with himself this week. Just briefly, while we're on the topic of exclusivity, Valheim developer Iron Gate Studios currently has no plans to bring the game to PlayStation. That is a little surprising, to be honest, as the game just arrived on Xbox as an early access title where it was also available on Game Pass. I'd assume that a PlayStation port might also be in the works, since that just makes sense. But it looks as though publisher Coffee Stain has negotiated some sort of exclusive deal with Microsoft. That's a bummer, because Valheim is incredible, and everyone should be able to play it on anything. PlayStation, mobile, microwaves, the McDonald's self-service kiosks, all of them. All of them should be able to play Valheim, but I guess it looks like that dream is still a ways away yet. Okay, this next block is all about games with a 2 in the title, and where better to start with one of the biggest announcements in recent memory, Counter-Strike 2. We have spoken about this a few times already, the news initially uncovered by esports journalist Richard Lewis, but now confirmed courtesy of a truly audacious, extraordinary, and remarkable announcement, with the official Counter-Strike Twitter account tweeting, quote, Counter-Strike 2. End quote. Like I said, a tweet for the ages. The way they wrote Counter-Strike and then put a 2 after it, incredible. I'll never forget where I was when I read that. More seriously though, Valve did put out some more specific information about the upcoming sequel. Sequel probably isn't quite the right word though, since this is technically an update to CSGO that delivers an engine overhaul, since it will now run on Source Engine 2. The new engine brings visual uplift across the board, as well as notable improvements to core gameplay elements like smoke grenades, where the smoke is modeled in far more detail than before, opening up new strategic options like the ability to clear parts of the smoke with explosions, as well as dynamic lighting when someone is firing from inside the smoke cloud. It sounds like a small thing, but it's actually a really big deal given the way Counter-Strike is played. CS2 also delivers something big in terms of its back-end online infrastructure. Tick rate is something you might have heard about in the past. It's basically a pulse that updates every few seconds to communicate actions to the server, and everything that happens between those pulses effectively didn't happen then, and that action gets moved up to the next pulse. This matters a lot in competitive games, since split-second actions are often what separates winning from losing. In Counter-Strike 2, Valve is moving beyond this classic tick rate model, delivering server updates as and when they happen, meaning that the game should feel more responsive than ever before. It's a huge deal, and the CS community are certainly happy about it. It'll be interesting to see whether other competitive games follow suit in the future. Finally, Valve did confirm that because CS2 is an update to CSGO, all of the existing skins players had previously collected or bought will still work, and will in fact look even better now that they're being rendered in Source Engine 2. This has caused a huge amount of movement in the skin economy, as skins which have a number of lighting effects have shot up in value, as speculators predict that they'll look significantly better in the new game engine. CS2 is currently in closed invite-only testing with plans to launch sometime in northern summer. Will I review it? No, I will not. I hung up my Deagle back in the 1.3 days, and I don't plan on dusting it off anytime soon. Alright, time for our next sequel in our sequel trilogy. That's what I'm calling this block. Silent Hill 2 Remake is currently in development at Bloober Studios, and that makes a bunch of people very uncomfortable, since a lot of people don't like Bloober. The criticisms are generally along the lines that they don't truly understand horror, they just ape aspects of it. Personally, I've enjoyed what I've played from them, but yeah, none of it has set the world on fire yet. That criticism seems to have gotten to Bloober, as they've recently spoken of their desire to move beyond it. Speaking to IGN, Bloober CEO Peter Babieno said that they were looking to move past walking simulator style mechanics and deliver, quote, more complex and involved gameplay mechanics on the level of other giants in the horror genre, end quote. He'd then go on to say that he, quote, wants Bloober Team to be known as the studio that defines the future of video game horror, end quote. Man, that is a lofty goal when you've got the likes of Tango Works and Capcom in the mix, so best of luck with that. If you are hoping for an update on the Silent Hill 2 remake, then good news. Speaking in a separate interview with a Polish publication named Bankia, Babieno says that their work on the remake is close to completion. Quote, Silent Hill 2 is technically ready. It doesn't mean the game is finished, but we are close. However, the issue of the release schedule lies with our partners. What the promotion will look like and when the title will debut is not directly in our hands, end quote. Given this statement, I expect we'll hear more about Silent Hill 2 at E3 in June, with a release date soon after that. Not too soon, hopefully, since we've got Final Fantasy 16 and Diablo 4 after E3, so give us a little breathing room, please, Konami. Alright, time for the epic conclusion to our sequel trilogy, Spider-Man 2. Insomniac are working on this one, the follow-up to their absolute smash hit Spider-Man and the spin-off Miles Morales. We don't have any official release date for this one yet, but it appears as though one voice actor for the project is more than happy to spill the beans. Tony Todd is voicing Venom in the upcoming game, and in a now deleted tweet, he responded to a fan asking about the release date by saying, quote, "Looks like September!" exclamation mark. Massive publicity coming in August. Commercials start dropping in August, so I'm told, hold on to your ... and your breath. Gonna be necessary, end quote. It's yet another example of film or television people having no concept of just how secretive the world of video games is. Like the time Norman Reedus just blurted out that Death Stranding 2 was in development. Either way, September is a little tricky. On August 30th, we're getting Baldur's Gate 3, and then on the 6th of September, we're getting Starfield. So Sony, if you could drop Spidey at the back of September, that would be great. Thanks very much. Okay, so this next story is kind of a big deal, but you might have missed it. During the Game Developers Conference, which wrapped up last week, Epic Games unveiled something that may well transform the future of video games. It's called Unreal Editor for Fortnite, and what it does is it takes the most essential elements of the Unreal Engine, which is a very complex and sophisticated tool, and streamlines those elements into something more usable by people with less experience and less training. The tool includes everything needed to create maps and reshape geometry in a very similar way that Epic themselves create spaces in Fortnite. It then utilizes all of Fortnite's available assets, giving creators a huge library of high-quality assets to begin playing around with, all for free. And then it also plugs in a whole bunch of the existing Fortnite gameplay systems and mechanics. Think guns, think cars that move and planes that fly. These things don't just magically work on their own in a normal game engine, they have to be programmed, and here in the Unreal Editor for Fortnite, they do automatically work. So players are given the ability to reshape terrain, drop in a vast library of assets, plug in a whole bunch of very functional gameplay elements, and then can polish it up to their heart's content using Unreal's more advanced features like global illumination powered by Luminous, or import their own custom assets, or tweak animations, etc. And all of this is intended to be used by anyone. I mean, it's not easy per se, but it's accessible if you're someone that wants to sit down and start learning this stuff. Think of it as a supercharged version of Roblox or Dreams on the PlayStation, an extremely powerful, content-rich tool that just so happens to teach you how to work in the most prolific game engine on the planet. Obviously, the long-term play here for Epic is huge. You're gonna get a whole bunch of Fortnite kids making content using Fortnite stuff and then publishing it themselves. And interestingly enough, anything that is published, 40% of the revenue goes to the creator. Given the scale of Fortnite, there's definitely some money to be made if you can make a game that gets picked up within the Fortnite community or beyond it. But for us as regular people who might not have any interest in creating things for ourselves, Epic just gave millions of people the tools to create the next Dota, the next Counter-Strike, the next Auto Chess, the next PUBG, the next whatever. Pretty crazy to imagine what this sort of thing could mean for the future of video games, and I'm certain that we'll be hearing a lot about the outputs of this tool over the coming months, years, and beyond. Alright, time for some EA news. Some of it good, some of it bad. We'll do the bad news first. Battlefield 1943 and Bad Company 1 and 2 are about to have their lights turned off. EA announced that support for the online services for these titles will end in December of this year, and that all three games will be delisted from sale at the end of April. They didn't provide any reason as to why they were being turned off, but I guess the company that makes like $7 billion a year needs to cut costs or something, I don't know. This announcement was actually a little more panic-inducing at first because it erroneously said that Mirror's Edge was being delisted from sale as well, and people were like, what the fuck, that is an offline single-player game. Why would you delist that? Is this another Warner Brothers tax write-off thing where they destroy a movie so they can save a few bucks on their tax bill? But no, it was a mistake, and DICE's ill-fated passion project will continue to be sold on digital storefronts. The Battlefield franchise has languished in recent years, typified in large part by the shambolic launch state of Battlefield 2042. In contrast, Respawn's Apex Legends is the goose that keeps laying the golden eggs, and EA is opening another Goose Coop? I don't know where Goose lived. The metaphor is not working. The point is EA are opening another studio to support Respawn. That is the headline. Respawn already have 2 studios, but this newly announced one will exist to service Apex Legends for the next 10 to 15 years, they've said, indicating that EA do not expect the popularity of Apex to wane anytime soon. Leading the new Wisconsin-based studio will be Ryan Burnett, a veteran of Epic Games, and before that Raven Software, which most recently has been a dedicated Call of Duty studio. Burnett says that the new Respawn studio will not just be a live co-op studio, but will instead be an integral part of the Apex Legends development team, contributing ideas and people power to help Respawn deliver a new season every 90 days. On top of Apex Legends, Respawn are hard at work on 2 Star Wars titles. The first is Jedi Survivor, due out at the back end of April. Very pumped for that one. The other one is an unannounced FPS title. We don't know anything about that one yet, but a job posting for a role at Respawn gives us at least some hint about where Respawn are looking. Quote, inspired by classic titles like Dark Forces and Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, end quote. And that is a good sentence to read. Those shooters were my jam back when they released in the mid to late 90s. So if Respawn are using these as their starting points, then I am very, very down. Hopefully we'll hear more about this project at E3, but I don't know, it might be a little early for that. A quick lightning round to finish off. Atari are planning to purchase Night Dive Studios for $10 million. Night Dive specializes in remastering old games and are about to release the System Shock remaster. It's unclear how this acquisition ties into their other investments, which include a dodgy shitcoin, some NFTs, and a casino. For real, go look up modern Atari, it's all kinds of whack. Jake Solomon, the man who led Firaxis as it rebooted the XCOM series, has announced his new venture after recently leaving Firaxis. As everyone predicted, he is starting his own studio. He currently is in the process of raising funds and securing a name, but he has confirmed that the studio will be based in Baltimore and that he probably won't be making a strategy game because he feels like he doesn't have anything else left to say in that space. Fair enough. Nearly 20 years after its release, cheat codes have been discovered in Gran Turismo 4. I never understood why developers sit on this stuff for so long. It's like, oh, it's been 4 console generations and absolutely no one is playing our game anymore, but now is not the time to tell them about the cheat codes. Let them discover that for themselves. Makes no sense to me. And finally, congrats to Sony for winning top spot in Metacritic's annual publisher rankings. Sony put out 10 titles last year, including new releases and ports, with heavy hitters like Ragnarok, God of War 2018 for PC, and Gran Turismo 7 leading the charge to deliver a Metacritic average of 85.6. For comparison's sake, Nintendo was number 12 and Xbox was not on the list because they did not release 5 scored games in 2022. Console warriors, please go easy in the comment section. Just take it easy, relax, everyone be cool. Please and thank you. So what got announced or delayed this week? Well, quite a bit actually, so hold on to your butts. Firstly, Capcom confirmed that the much requested Mercenaries mode for Resident Evil 4 Remake will arrive on April 7th as a free update. Still no word on the Separate Ways DLC, which fans are expecting will arrive at some point, especially after references to it were data mined from the PC client. I'm sure we can expect to hear more about that soon, plus the VR mode currently in development exclusively for PSVR 2. So yeah, a lot more to look forward to for Resident Evil 4 Remake. War Tales is a title I checked out a while ago during a Steam Next Fest. It's a tactical open-world RPG where you lead a troop of upstarts across the land in search of fame and or glory. Really enjoyed my time with it. Early access reviews are very positive, 92% on Steam, and the developers have just announced that it will hit 1.0 on April 12th. Golem, oh boy, okay, so this one has had a bit of a rough run in its lead up, multiple delays, no doubt related to the lukewarm reception it's been getting, and believe me, characterizing it as lukewarm is very generous indeed. IGN just did a hands-on preview for it, and yep, it still looks pretty rough, but the powers have decreed that this thing must ship, and so ship it shall on May 25th. The perfect chaser after Tears of the Kingdom. You've tried the best, now try whatever the fuck this is. Sonic Origins is the definitive OG Sonic collection, and it's about to get even better with a paid update titled Sonic Origins Plus. The new content drop adds Amy as a playable character and also adds a bunch of new Game Gear Sonics to the mix. I'm not sure how well they'll hold up, but it's nice to know they're playable by some means. This is a $10 update for existing owners of Sonic Origins, and it's available on June 23rd. The Last Ronin is a graphic novel that is a dark twist on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles franchise. All but one of the turtles has been exterminated by the Foot Clan, and the remaining turtle, whose identity is a mystery, fights with all 4 weapon types to avenge his fallen brothers. It sounds pretty badass, to be honest, and now it's getting a video game adaptation. This project was announced by Paramount, who are the rights holders to the Turtle franchise. They haven't announced who's working on the project, but they did liken it to open world RPGs like God of War, which is a pretty ambitious comparison. I'll let you know when we hear more about this one. Crash Team Rumble is... man, I don't really know what this is, to be honest with you. It's kind of positioning itself as a MOBA featuring Crash characters. Very weird, not sure why this is a thing, but hey, it's a video game that's releasing on June 20th, exclusive to PlayStation and Xbox. Aliens Dark Descent is a top-down shooter in the Aliens universe. It was revealed some time ago with a long CG trailer that ended with just a second or two of top-down gameplay. Always hard to get excited about Aliens titles given how patchy that portfolio of games is. Hopefully this one is good, and we'll find out on June 20th when it launches for all platforms bar the Switch. Two big announcements to go. The first is Honkai Star Rail, the next big thing from Genshin Impact's developer. This is a pretty big deal because Genshin is big, like really big. So the next new IP from this team is sure to generate plenty of interest, especially considering that it's free to play. I'm kind of interested in this one actually. The fantasy setting of Genshin never really grabbed me. I'm more of a sci-fi man, and since it ticks that box, I'll be checking it out when it launches for PC and mobile on the 26th of April. Also, just in this week, PlayStation have confirmed that the game will arrive on their hardware at some point in the future, but did not provide a release window. Sounds like an exclusive agreement as there's no announcements for Xbox or Switch ports. And finally, a surprise way out of left field, but an awesome one, pun intended. LEGO 2K Drive was revealed this week. This looks to be basically Forza Horizon, but with LEGO, and you can build your own car out of LEGO, and your car can be a chicken made out of LEGO. Game of the year. I actually love this because I really enjoyed Forza Horizon well more than I expected to, and I found a new fondness for arcade races like Hot Wheels Unleashed or the Hot Wheels expansion for Forza Horizon. So this is ticking boxes for me, and it just looks plain great, and the hands-on previews to this point have all been super positive. Plus, we don't have to wait very long for it as LEGO 2K Drive will arrive on all platforms on May 15th. Awesome. So what came out last week? Well, that Deceive Incorporated dropped, and you know what? It seems to be pretty rad. This one's a spy-based team shooter like Assassin's Creed's old multiplayer mode crossed with Overwatch. Really promising premise that appears to have delivered, with the title sitting at a very positive 88% on Steam. Looks to be a pretty safe purchase if you're looking for some fun multiplayer shenanigans outside of the more serious-faced and competitive alternatives. Tachia is that island-set open-world exploration game that more than a few people were excited about based on the trailers. Good news, it's apparently pretty great. No Steam scores for this one as it's an Epic exclusive on PC, but it's sitting at a strong 78 on OpenCritic. PC Gamer gushed about it, scoring it a 90 and calling it, quote, one of the best open world games to come along in ages, end quote. Push Square were a little less enthused, but still positive, scoring it a 7 out of 10 and saying, quote, unfortunate bugs let it down and stopped players experiencing it to its fullest, but a solid, enjoyable, and ultimately beautiful game is at its core, end quote. Don't forget that this one is also available for anyone on the PS Plus Premium tier. Storyteller is that puzzle game by indie hitmaker Annapurna Interactive, though this one doesn't seem possessed of quite the same magic as the rest of their portfolio. It's sitting at a 73, mostly positive on Steam, with critics at a similar 72 on OpenCritic. The Gamer had a good write-up, scoring it 2.5 stars and saying, quote, like a good book that you simply can't put down, Storyteller will charm you with its whimsical and inventive gameplay, so much so you'll finish it in one sitting, but therein also lies its biggest flaw. While Storyteller has a superb foundation and core idea, the puzzle mechanics aren't challenging and the gameplay is too short and lacks variety, so you'll breeze through it in no time at all, end quote. And that brings us to this week's Big Daddy release. Leon S. Tier Kennedy is back nearly 20 years after his first trip to rural Spain, this time to do it all over again, but with better hair and the same one-liners. We talked through the critical reception last week, but as a brief recap, critics loved it, mighty 92 on OpenCritic, making it the second highest rated game of the year after the Metroid Prime remaster. With the game now in the hands of punters, they've made their voices heard on Steam, and Resident Evil 4 Remake is currently sitting at 97% overwhelmingly positive, with nearly 20,000 reviews in. This makes it the third highest rated game on Steam for 2023 after Hi-Fi Rush and Pizza Tower. That's according to Steam 250's weighted rating system. Just an absurdly positive reception, but not at all absurd really, because if you've played this or finished it like I have, then the score should not remotely surprise you. Like I said, my review is coming later this week, but man, let me tell you, this is one hell of a video game. So what's coming out this week? Well, much like the announcements, quite a bit, so continue holding on to your butt. Kicking things off is Crime Boss Rocky City, which launches exclusively for the Epic Games Store today. So this has an all-star cast from back in the day, names like Michael Madsen, Danny Glover, Kim Basinger, and Chuck Norris, and it appears to be a sort of Payday-style heist game. It looks a little rough around the edges, but if the game is good, then that's going to be fine. My concern is that this is going out with basically no marketing behind it whatsoever. Reviews go live the minute the game ships, and it's exclusive to the Epic Games Store, which dooms it to a kind of marketing black hole. This is a game that relies on player count for matchmaking, so it's hard to imagine that there's going to be a lot of people picking this one up day one. Feels like it would have been a really nice fit for Game Pass, and hell, maybe it'll end up there one day. For now though, it's Epic exclusive, and I'll report back on the reviews next week. If you're done with the RE4 remake and are in the mood for more survival horror action, then perhaps The Last of Us Part 1 might interest you. After a recent delay, this one arrives on PC today. It delivers the base game from back in the PS3 era, along with the DLC starring Ellie, and the whole thing has had a massive visual uplift, as well as improvements to sound, enemy AI, and more. A lot of people weren't happy with the price tag of this one on PS5, but as a PC title, the game never having appeared on that platform before, the price tag does make a little more sense. Terra Nil is one I've had on my radar for a long time now, ever since I discovered it at a Steam Next Fest. I played the demo and loved it, and then I discovered it was being put out by Devolver Digital, and I was like, ah yes, that makes sense, since Devolver certainly know good shit when they see it. It's a reverse city builder. You actually have to reverse the effects of urbanization and pollution by reviving the natural ecosystem. Flowing water, fields of flowers, forests, backburning, etc. It's a really clever puzzle game of sorts, since you need to add different environmental elements in different measure to arrive at ecological balance. Great game, very worth a look. It arrives today for PC and mobile. I had no idea that it was coming to mobile as well, by the way, so that's actually kind of cool. Sifu, remember that one? This game took over for a full week at the start of February last year before we all got distracted by Elden Ring. Sifu is back in Xbox and Steam form. Personally, I had no idea that there wasn't yet an Xbox or Steam Sifu. I totally forgot about that, but yeah, it's out on those platforms today, and all platforms will be able to pick up the Arenas update, which adds a new game mode focused on mowing down waves of enemies as quickly as possible. Personally, I found Sifu challenging enough without the added pressure of a clock, so I'm all good, thank you very much. MLB The Show arrives on all platforms bar the PC today, and a reminder that this one is day one on Game Pass. Forza Horizon 5's next major expansion is nearly here. Dropping tomorrow, the Rally Adventure expansion will give you lots of new rally cars and lots of dirt tracks to slide around on. Not what I was hoping for as a follow-up to their awesome Hot Wheels expansion, though I do need to keep in mind that video games do not exist to cater to my personal tastes alone. So Rally fans, I hope you guys enjoy this one. Speaking of my personal taste, Metal Hellsinger is getting some DLC tomorrow. It's called Dream of the Beast. The expansion is paid DLC and includes 2 new songs, 1 new weapon, and 3 new outfits that affect gameplay. The songs are from Christina Scabia of Lacuna Coil and Will Ramos of Lorna Shore. I have no idea who these people or these bands are, but I'm sure they made cool music, since the rest of the Metal Hellsinger OST goes pretty hard, and I doubt these tracks will be any different. 3 indies to wrap things up. The first is Dredge, a game I profiled in my Put This On Your Radar segment a few months ago. This had all the makings of a banger, and it appears to be just that, as reviews are already in and the title sits at a strong 83 on OpenCritic. This one is ostensibly a fishing game where you go out for your daily catch, upgrading your boat bit by bit as you do so, but something sinister is lurking out there beneath the waves, and each hour that ticks by brings you one step closer to uncovering it. This is really fantastic to play on Steam Deck, which is where I'm playing it right now. It's tightly written, it's low-key addictive owing to its fishing mechanics, and also low-key scary when it wants to be. It's hitting all platforms on the 30th. The Last Worker is a humorous puzzle sim game I played a while back. Nothing amazing, but it's a good time. That's hitting all platforms, including the PSVR 2 on the 30th. And finally, Citizen Sleeper makes its way to PlayStation for the first time on the 31st. Once a PC and Xbox exclusive, this narrative-led RPG went on to win a whole bunch of Game of the Year awards from people swept up in its phenomenal writing. If you enjoyed the likes of Disco Elysium, then this one is absolutely for you. So I saw a tweet about this one recently from my friend Stephen Datillo of Axios. He found this one when he was walking the floor at GDC, and yeah, put this on your radar.
It's been a while since someone's wandered around this place. And wanderers are always welcome.
This is Viewfinder from Scottish developer Sad Owl Studios. It's kind of impossible for me to explain the premise of it any better than you're seeing it here for yourself. Just a really, really neat trick involving photography, perspective, and the unique way that video games are able to render both 2D images and 3D spaces. I just think this looks so interesting and inventive. I can't wait to try it out. There's no release date for it yet, but it's scheduled for sometime in 2023. If you'd like to keep tabs on it, then I really strongly recommend wishlisting it. That always helps developers out in a big way as well. To make that easier, I've profiled it over on my Steam Curator page, which also has links to all of the other Put This On Your Radar stuff I've recently covered. I'll leave a link to all of that below the like button. Sort of free stuff time now, and we are running long, so we got to wrap this one up quick. Don't forget that this is the last week of the month, so be sure to grab your Twitch Prime stuff, your Games with Gold, LeMayo, and your PS Plus offerings before they disappear. New stuff to claim this week from Epic. Right now you can still grab Chess Ultra, but on the 31st you'll be able to pick up Tunch, I think it's pronounced. It's a cute looking 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up. Game Pass, we already shouted out MLB The Show, which drops today, but there's also Infinite Guitars, a rhythm-based, turn-based RPG. Looks pretty rad, actually. And finally, to finish on some very bad news, the $1 Game Pass deal is no more. I'm gonna guess that most of you watching this have already redeemed that deal, some of you multiple times, resulting in like 3 years of Game Pass. But for everybody else, the single best deal in the history of video games is no more, and you're gonna have to pay a fair market price for a Game Pass subscription now. Rest in power, $1 Game Pass. You will be greatly missed. Our feel-good story for the week takes us to the wild and rapidly evolving world of AI. We know it's already been used to create art. We know that it's being used to create totally realistic exchanges between presidents and Leon S. Kennedy.
Leon S. Kennedy, I need your help.
What do you need, sir?
My daughter Ashley has gone missing. She's been kidnapped by a fucking wizard.
A wizard?
Yes, we believe they want to do some Resident Evil shit.
Damn it, where are they?
They are located in Europe.
Where in Europe?
This, general area.
Great.
But as the technology evolves, corporations are finding a new use for it. The latest corporation in question, Ubisoft. The use? Getting it to write in-game dialogue for NPCs. For real, this is an actual thing that Ubisoft announced at GDC, a new tool that will ghostwrite NPC dialogue for video games, providing a first draft that could eventually be expanded upon by Ubisoft's actual human writers. Now, obviously, this sounds objectionable on many levels, and my concern was that if you get AI writing in-game dialogue, it would likely shit out lifeless, inauthentic drivel. So I wondered, is AI able to produce good, authentic writing? Let's find out. I plugged the following into ChatGPT, quote, write a dialogue exchange between two NPCs about which Ubisoft game has the worst microtransactions, end quote. Here's the actual output from ChatGPT, dramatized for your enjoyment. Roll it, Austin.
Hey there, have you played all of the Ubisoft games that have microtransactions?
Yeah, I've played most of them. Why do you ask?
Well, I was just thinking about which Ubisoft game had the worst microtransactions. What do you think?
That's a tough one. I think they're all pretty bad, to be honest. But if I had to choose one, I'd say Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Really? I thought that game had a pretty fair microtransaction system.
Fair? Are you kidding me? They practically force you to buy the Time Savers pack if you want to actually enjoy the game. Plus, they have all those epic and legendary gear sets that are practically impossible to get without spending real money.
Okay, I see your point. But what about Ghost Recon Breakpoint? That game was practically a microtransaction nightmare.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. They had those ridiculous battle points that you had to buy if you wanted to get the best gear. And don't even get me started on the Time Savers pack in that game.
Yeah, it seems like Ubisoft has a bit of a problem with microtransactions. Do you think they'll ever change their ways?
I doubt it. As long as people keep buying them, Ubisoft will keep pushing them. It's just a shame that they've let greed get in the way of making great games.
And scene. Now, I would remind you that I did not ask for the AI to pass judgment on Ubisoft as a company. I was just asking for examples about specific game monetization, but the AI took it upon itself to decry the state of Ubisoft as a whole and declare them beyond redemption. I am still not okay with AI replacing humans, but in this one very specific instance, I'm willing to give AI a pass. My God, this show was long, wasn't it? Let's wrap up super fast. Hit the like button. It's right there. Smack it hard once, thrice, 5 times. Just no even numbers, please. Subscribe and ding the bell so I can harass you in your sleep with annoying notifications. Come back later this week for a review where I just gush for 20 minutes about Resident Evil 4. Only like 6 more weeks until Zelda. I can't believe we're so close. Thank you for watching, and a big thanks to this week's sponsor, ExpressVPN. You've heard about VPNs in the past, right? You've seen them on YouTube videos or whatever. Maybe you thought to yourself, that's not for me. Well, maybe, but let me ask you this. Have you ever entered a password online? Do you watch Netflix or some other streaming service? Have you ever used public Wi-Fi at school, work, or somewhere else? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then ExpressVPN would be really helpful. I mean, take security and privacy, for example. ExpressVPN encrypts all of your online data, making it significantly harder to be intercepted by people looking to nab your passwords or other personal information. If you want to remain more anonymous when browsing online, then a VPN is a must. It's an especially big risk if you ever use any public Wi-Fi networks like a library or a school or a cafe. Those sorts of connections leave you particularly vulnerable, and ExpressVPN keeps you safe. The big one, for me at least, is being able to browse the internet and access content free from geo-blocking. So much stuff is geo-blocked here in Australia, and if I want to be able to watch whatever I want, then I need a VPN. I mean, I can't even subscribe to HBO here in Australia because we just don't have it here. So yeah, VPN is a must for me, otherwise I'm just missing out on too much stuff. Using streaming platforms without a VPN is like going to McDonald's but only being able to order from the breakfast menu. There's so much more content to enjoy when you're free of geo-blocks, and ExpressVPN lets you enjoy it. ExpressVPN is easy to install and use, plus you can use it on a variety of devices. To check it out, go to expressvpn.com/skillup, and if you sign up from that landing page, you'll get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN free. Thanks ExpressVPN for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it.